Hi there, my name is Dina Falconi. I'm an herbalist, educator, and the author of Foraging and Feasting and Earthly Bodies and Heavenly Hair. And what is the theme of today? What are we doing here in mid-fall in the Mid-Hudson Valley of New York? We are going to engage garlic mustard. Garlic mustard, the invasive, garlic mustard, the wild, tasty green garlic mustard, Alliaria petiolata of the Brassicaceae family, and it is all over the place. Actually, it's really happy over here in this wild zone of the garden where the soil is rich and moist and well drained, and it gets part shade. So here we are, and I want to give you, actually before we get into the macro of it, let's discuss what's beautiful about this plant. Now I know people hate it, and it is invasive, and you do need to control it based on your ecosystem and your needs. I personally do want garlic mustard in my life. I eat it as soon as the snow melts in early spring, and I'm going to eat it until the snow covers the soil. So it's a very worthy wild edible. How do we use it? Why do we use it? So it is free salad, it's wild salad, and it is nutrient dense. It's high in beta carotene and vitamin C. It has a mineral content that is worthy. What else about it? It's actually interesting to note that it has a flavor that is garlicky, mustardy, and also bitter. And that flavor profile really shifts through the course of its growing season. So we are talking about a plant that has a 2-year life cycle. I'm going to show you what the second year seed pods look like. Today's theme is about the basal rosette of the first year plant, or early spring second year. That's our theme. But back to its gifts. So its flavor profile is interesting, and it becomes sweeter after a few hard frosts. So those leafy greens do have bitterness. They are a relative to broccoli rabe and do sort of relate in flavor to that vegetable. Also, what else to say? So that bitter flavor, though, is something that stimulates our digestion. It stimulates our digestive secretions, and it actually gives us a bit of a laxative effect. It's called an aperient, which is a very gentle laxative. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's helpful as a bit of a gentle mover and shaker. Okay, now how would we use garlic mustard leaves? We can just toss them fresh into salad, put them into wild green pesto, we can use them in green goddess dressing, we can saute them, we can cook them in soup, we can make gnocchi with them, we can, you know, it goes on and on. Again, the flavor profile of the leaf does change through its 2-year life cycle, so it's good for you to nibble it and see how you like it and how you want to use it in your cuisine. Some folks actually blanch it so that they'll put those leaves into a pot of boiling water just for a minute or two and then lift it right out to bring down some of the bitterness. I don't do that, but just as a thought, so you can try. And before we get into macro, I do want to add another thing related to where we are in the season with garlic mustard, and that is after a few hard frosts, you can dig the roots of this baby. You can dig the roots really anytime first year and up to early spring of second year plant. When the frost hits these first year plants, what happens is the root gets concentrated in flavor and in sugars, and it increases in size, and we can dig those roots and we have what's called wild style horseradish. So that's really fun. And of course, if you dig it out, you kill it. And if that's your intention, then you might as well kill it and also make some horseradish with it. It's not really horseradish, just so you know. It's a type of horseradish. This is a very close cousin of horseradish, by the way. This is a Brassicaceae, just to remind you, so that means it's related to all of the mustard family plants. Let's see if there's anything else to share. Yeah, so let's discuss a little bit more about its habitat. So where does it like to grow? Everywhere where the soil is, it prefers, I should say, moist, rich soil. It prefers moist, rich soil, but it will grow in many types of soil. And it does fine in part shade to part sun, maybe a little full shade, full sun. It really, I feel, loves the edges of the woodlands where fields are, that there's a bit of shade and moisture. It loves the edges of fields. What else in terms of location? I think that covers it. Disturbed soil, human activity is going to bring it on. And then what else about world range? So we have a native of Eurasia. So we are going to find this all over Europe and in certain parts of Asia. And it has spread about the temperate zones of the world. You're going to find it all through the United States. USDA hardiness zones 4 to 8. So let's get into macro detailing of how you identify garlic mustard. Here is an example of a little patch of garlic mustard in first year basil rosette. Here you can see garlic mustard rooting into the ground and sending up its long leaf stalks, and then its leaf sits on top of that leaf stalk. Let's pick some leaves and give you some close-ups of Leaf ID. Let's get different shapes and sizes of leaves here. Let's see. Here's a good one. Okay, let's head over. So garlic mustard has a 2-year life cycle. And in its second year of life, it blooms. It blooms a white 4-petaled flower. That flower is also considered food, and all of the plant is considered food that's tender and tasty to you. What happens after it flowers is it produces seeds in something called calyx, and I'm going to get close with you in a second on that, but I am surrounded by seeds of garlic mustard. Now, this is a really strong point to keep in mind. If you want to control garlic mustard, do not let it go to seed, so that you would harvest it, you would cut it back, you would remove flower, and do not let seed get created. All right, you know what I'm saying? Personally, I want garlic mustard in my area in controlled ways, as I've said already, but let's get you a macro shot of what this dead garlic mustard looks like. Here you get to see some dead garlic mustard already past its life cycle, but I just want you to see what it looks like. And if you go up the plant, you can see these elongated remnants. These are where the seeds were. These are elongated seed pods. They are called calyx. They're really cool. White flowers would have been here, and then they're pollinated and they create this elongated seed pod called a calyx. And obviously it's empty now. You can kind of see those little seed placements. Let's give you some garlic mustard leaf, Basil Leaf ID. This is the basil leaf, and it has this really long petiole, this really long leaf stalk, so you can see that. The leaf size will vary. You can see they can be quite a bit smaller than this and quite a bit bigger than this, but this is a bit of a range. Now, the base of the leaf right here, this is the base of the leaf, and you can see that it is heart-shaped. It's cordate. That's called the base of the leaf. And then if we look at the leaf shape, the wind, and if we look at the leaf shape, it's called reniform. This right here is in the shape of a kidney, or of, a reniform shape, and then they become more pointy sometimes. The leaves become cordate. So right here, we have a cordate shaped leaf with a cordate base. So what else to say? Let's look at the leaf margins. So you want to look at that right here, what's going on. And we have what's called scalloping. So you have these rounded teeth around the leaf margin. What's going on with the leaf surface here? This surface is very wrinkly. So you have a wrinkled leaf surface. Let's flip them over so you can see the underside, and the veins are more prominent, and it's a good, nice net vein pattern. I'm trying to keep the wind from blowing it so you can see the veining. So Other ID points related to basil rosette leaves, you always want to get the flavor right. You want to get the smell and the flavor. And what's that look like? Well, the flavor and the smell don't look like anything. That's what do they taste like and what do they smell like? And you always want to make sure that you are getting a garlicky, mustardy, pungent odor. And also, if you know you have the right plant, you can nibble it. And that flavor is actually slightly sweet. Right now, don't forget we're in mid-fall, so that flavor profile is really different than in summer. Sweet, bitter, pungent. But that smell, okay? You want that garlicky, mustardy smell to show up as part of your ID. And let's also consider a couple of other things. So when this plant is not in basil rosette, its leaves grow up the main stem and morph, and they become much more deltoid or triangular. So don't forget that. This snapshot that we're sharing with you in this lesson is about basil rosette leaf ID, okay? And then how do we use this? I mean, I spoke about how we use it, but what can you use? All of it. You can use that leaf. You can use this petiole as long as it's tender. This feels a little tough. I might want to cook it. But so when you're out there harvesting, you might choose just to clip off those leaves, or you might choose to include that depending on your palate. Okay, so I think that is the moment of garlic mustard in mid-fall. May it enrich your life. May you bring wild invasiveness into your life. Celebrate it, control it, be nourished by it. And if you've enjoyed this and you want more, check out my online course, Wild Food Health Boosters and Herbal Remedies, at wildfoodhealthboosters.com.